So today I'm talking about a Kia with the P0138 code, what it is, and how you go about fixing it. So what is a Kia P0138 code? With an O2 sensor, circuit high voltage bank 1 sensor 2. And what does this mean? Well, the onboard computer uses sensors located on the exhaust to know how much oxygen's been burnt off after combustion, and it's seen a problem with one of these, so it has to be troubleshooted to know why. And bank 1 is always the side of the engine with the number 1 cylinder, and sensor 2 will be the second sensor going down on the exhaust. And some of the possible causes of this, well, it could be a bad sensor, it could be in the wiring, and possibly a blown fuse. And so the first thing to do when you get this code is to go locate bank 1 sensor 2 oxygen sensor. And there can be some differences. There can be multiple sensors, especially if you have dual exhausts, since there'll be sensors on each side of the exhaust. There's quite commonly there's 2, but keep in mind there can be more, so it's always a good idea to have a diagram of where they're at on for your particular Kia year, model, and engine type. But like I said, 2 is very common. And what's going on with these is you're going to have sensor 1, which is before the catalytic converter, and it's also called the upstream. And then you're going to have sensor 2, which is after the catalytic converter, called the downstream. And so the one you want to go and locate is going to be the sensor 2 downstream oxygen sensor, which will be after the catalytic converter. And so once you locate it, the next thing to do is to go through and check out this wiring, because any bad connections, open shorts, anything like this in this wiring can cause the same symptoms as the bad sensors. So it's always a good idea to check that out, or definitely keep it in mind. And another thing to keep in mind is that this will be on a fuse. There'll be a fuse box inside the engine compartment, and there'll be a fuse inside of there for these sensors. Sometimes they're not labeled so clearly, like here it says down O2 sensor, upstream O2 sensor is on sensor 1, which is right here. Sensor 1 is a very common fuse for these on Kia, but again, they can change a little bit sometimes, and sometimes it can be a little vague in their wording. But there will be a fuse inside the engine compartment fuse box for these sensors. And if that blows, then there can be an issue. And so if you check that out, if you check out the wiring, that all looks good, there's no blown fuses or anything like that, then very likely it's just time to replace that sensor and it's gone bad. You can test it if you want to. There's some good videos on that if you want to go about testing it. But if you checked everything else out, very likely that sensor is just bad. One thing to keep in mind is that these do require special tools sometimes to get back in. It's really going to vary. It's going to depend on what type of tools you have. For example, if you have a deep well socket, you could cut this wire and get it out, and then you could put it back in with an open-end wrench. But if you don't have a lot of tools to be able to get this out, then very likely you will need this special tool to get around that wire. And sometimes they can be indented and down inside of a hole-like thing, but usually sensor 2 is easier to get to. Although, again, this can vary, so go and check it out, because you might need this special tool to get it back in. And so that's basically it. I just wanted to give a real quick brief overview of how you go about fixing a Kia with the P0138 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.